Good morning, everybody. I originally didn't realize, or didn't dawn on me that I ought to just do this whole project in my shop. So this is the continuation of the last video, actually. I I pulled dimensions off from those, the adapter and that transfer case mounting face, and now I'm preparing to make the drill guide plate for that thing. So I was going to do this in the customer's shop, but then it occurred to me that I'd rather do that here too. I sent those dimensions that I created yesterday over. They've got a full-time CAD guy there. It's really good. And rather than me trying to ham-fistedly figure my way out to overlaying those two patterns that I came up with, I sent him pictures of my drawings this morning. Just scanned them, sent him PDFs of those. He dumped all that into CAD and then superimposed the two bolt patterns over each other. Pretty slick. Did a nice job of it. So basically got the critical dimensions off the transfer case and then superimposed the accurate hole spacings from the adapter. So anyways, now I've got a print for that, and that's I'm getting ready. I'm zeroed out on where that pilot hole location is going to be. I believe it's 4.5-inch spade drill, and I didn't time it, but what, 5 minutes or something, we just punched a hole through there. So that is hands down the fastest way to get that much material out of there. So now I will switch out to a boring head, and we'll bore that hole to finish size. creating. And a lot of these dimensions don't actually match because we just threw some into CAD to come up with numbers. But so anyways, I'm primarily concerned with that hole pattern. This is a locating hole. It's the one I'm trying to make now. But I didn't pay a lot of attention where it fell relative to the edge of the plate. Didn't really care. Have I ever got a treat for you guys? So, I just remembered I've got a whole set of these. When's the last time you saw an end mill with a Morris taper shank on it? See that? Pratt & Whitney P&W jig bore, number 4 Morris taper. Things are like brandy spanking new. And I've studied these. These are not reamers. These are end mills. But anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that thing like a 30-second undersize, drilling it, and then put this in and plunge through there, which that's a really nice tool. That should give me a hole that's dumb close to dead on to that 1.5 inch number that I'm shooting for. So anyways, we'll get set up here with a drill and do some drilling first. Soft base hammer. I'm not loving the idea of beating straight on the end of that. Alright. I'm actually kind of excited to get to use these tools. When I got them, I thought to myself, what on earth would I ever use that for? They're so nice that I thought I would never use them for something that, was beaten on them, but this is the perfect application. Piece of aluminum, won't hurt the tool a bit, and it'll give me a nice, true round hole. There's probably going to be a little bit of run out in the spindle or something, so what I'm expecting is to end up with a hole that's a couple thou over 1.5 inches. We'll see if it proves to be the case, because once again, this would be nicer if it just drops on there than if it was a hammer-on fit. So, just came through the back side. there she is. Holes all drilled, reamed, bored. I've got one more thing I want to do before I pull it out of here. And that is, I want to measure that. And then I want to come over here and try, oh, I can't. Darn. I was all excited. I was going to measure between them, but I forgot that has... Maybe what I could do is get my big calipers out, measure the outside of that, and then outside of that. So the reason for that is just one last check to try and make sure that my center distance is working out. 'Cause that's the thing I'm most paranoid of, is that center distance works out and that drops onto those two pegs. So I'm going to try that right now and see how that works. So when I measured that way, I'm coming up with this being about 15 thousandths narrower than what that is, which I don't like the sounds of that, because this hole we know got reamed a little bit oversized. So if anything, this ought to show bigger. I'm seriously contemplating doing what I originally was going to and opening this up into a slot, because the other issue is that this has to, this just is one transfer case. We don't know how tight New Process held that dimension, right? Like there could be 5 thousandths of float or something within their tolerances. So I think before I pull this out of here, I'm going to go ahead and get an end mill in here, and I'm just going to come in and open that to a slot. The more I've thought about it, I think that's really what it needed in the first place. So basically, I'll just come past the ends of what is this circle enough to know for sure that it can slop back and forth. We'll say, I don't know, I'm probably going to give it 50 thousandths that direction, just to know that it's centering this way, which is all I care about. It's for clocking, and that it's not going to give me a fit. Because the more I've thought about it while I was working, I just don't want that to be the thing. If you think about it, if I go to drop it on there and it don't fit, which I suspect it won't right now, then I got to figure out how to get re-centered up on here. A lot of screwing around. I just don't want to deal with that. End mill that I resharpened recently, so it's nice and crisp. We're going to come up here and try and get some machining. All right, so there we are. I feel a lot better about that. You can see there's a few ripples in it where I stopped and paused places and stuff, but it's much safer profile to have as far as having it be good and functional and fit all the possible applications. Anyway, we're ready to break this thing down out of here and go try her out. All right, so I fibbed. I decided I was feeling this in here, and it really is tighter than I want, because I want to be able to pull this in and out with fingers. If it gets driven in there and gets stuck, that's going to be a pain in the butt. So anyways, I went digging around, and I've got a really nice set of old Navy surplus hand reamers. They have a nice long taper lead on them. The problem is, hand reamering through a hole like that, it's easy to get out of square. So what I've got here, this is a really cool tool. I did a video on this once before, but this is actually for driving taps, but it's going to be gorgeous for this. So it is a floating head, if you can see that, where it's got a certain amount of float in it there. It holds the tapper, in this instance reamer, and it's designed to grab a square shank, slick setup. And then it's got a slip clutch built into it, which we don't really care for our application. And then it floats both in and out, I don't know, close to an inch. In our application, the only part of it that I'm really using it for is the floating head, so that it definitely follows the hole and doesn't try to oscillate off center. So we're going to try it on one hole here. And if I like the results, we're going to go back around this pattern. We'll see once how that looks. Definitely left a nicer finish than the other reamer. I think that's just on account of it being much, much sharper. Oh, that is what I was after. Just perfect slip fit. Okay, we are definitely running this one around and taking it back through the rest of these holes. So I'll set you guys up and let you come along for the ride. All right, everybody, this thing could not possibly fit any nicer than what it does. So you can see what opening up, I'm blocking the light here, but you can see what opening that up did. Like, I'm past the sides of that on each side, but I'm touching the sides. And I've got just, you can just hear a click when I smack it, but hardly enough to even be able to see it move. And then if you look at these, you can tell like I'm centered up around them very nicely. So I'm falling definitely within the same scope and range, if you want to call it that, of where this thing originally is supposed to sit. And then obviously this, it's hard to really show all the details, but this, you know, fit on there before, so it definitely fit on there again. So now when we lay this template over one, drill it, tap it, this will always drop back on in exactly the same spot. So anyways, I'm very happy with how this is looking, and I think at this point we are ready to take this up and give it a test in the real world, see how she works. So I'm finishing this up now. I got to show my boo-boo a minute. See that one that's got a sleeve in it? When I got over here and got comparing it, it's funny because these studs on this one that were center punched, that one was far enough out of position that it didn't look glaringly obvious. But when I laid it over this with studs in it to line it up, I could tell that one wasn't right. So I did a bunch of investigating, went back, discovered I'd inverted two numbers and that I had that one this direction by almost 30 thousandths. So anyway, stuck it back on the boring mill, got centered up, and then got on the right position, dropped through there with an end mill, and then drilled it, reamed it, and then as you can see, I made a sleeve. Actually what I did is machined up a plug that was a pretty heavy press fit, and then put sleeve retainer on it and pulled it in with one of my big clamps while it was still on the boring mill, and then went ahead and did the same process I did on these where I, you know, pilot drilled, and then reamed it to size. So it's right now. And one of them, every once in a while, you run enough numbers and you're going to screw one up. But anyhow, so what I'm doing over here now is those holes are all drilled to fit the 5/8 that these are, but I need two smaller sizes. Like this is my tap drill. So I'm machining little spacer sleeves that those are pressed into so that all of my drill guides use the same size. So what I'm working on now is the last of them. I want an 1/8 inch pilot drill for my initial, so got that one pretty well made. The only well, this is done. I got two sets of these made. The reason behind the double sets was just so that they've got spares in case one gets messed up, because the theory is going to be that you drop the pilot one in, pilot drill at 1/8 inch, pull that out, drop in the 5/16 tap drill, drill that, and then that you come along and pop in the 3/8 as a tap guide. Now, my experience with that is that the taps don't actually go through these real nice. I may hone this out a little bit if I've got an 1/8 inch hone. Ooh, she's starting to go. We're dang close now. Alright, this time I really am going to call it a night. We have got 2 drill bushings honed out to properly fit a tap. Pretty excited about that. That's probably the most, that is probably what that Sun and Rigid hone was most designed for of all the things I've actually used it for. So it's kind of nice to use it for what it was made for once in its life. So, yeah, that is slick. Worked good. I mean, it took me, let me see here, what time is it? So it took me about half an hour to hone out 2 bushings. I mean, I was took somewhere between 5 and 6 thousandths out of there. So that's quite a bit of material to be hogging out a little hone like that. So, anyway, I am very happy with the results. We're going to call it a night, and then we can actually, this is ready to go get used tomorrow. So, catch you guys on the next video. Have a good evening.